And my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh now joins us live from Nice in France. Shubhendu, we saw your report, beautiful locale you are at. Give us a sense of what is going to transpire at Nice.
Hello, Amrit. Nice is going to be the first stop for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Europe visit to Nice, the Mediterranean city in France. Today evening, Prime Minister is expected to arrive in Nice. There is a small but a vibrant community welcome that has been organized at the hotel where the Prime Minister would be staying. And so the engagements of today would be limited to that. But tomorrow, 14th of June, is big day. This is when both the leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President of France, Emmanuel Macron, will jointly inaugurate the very ambitious Bharat Innovates. It's the first time that such an initiative has been taken forward by India's startup ecosystem, getting an exhibition of this scale and focus in a place outside of the nation. It's a maiden attempt, if we were to talk about Bharat Innovates. So the two leaders will jointly inaugurate it. They will look at the exhibition. There are also very high stakes collaborations expected between global investors and Indian startups. The leaders will also interact with some of these innovators and startup. Higher education of institutions of India, they also find representation at this platform, and the two leaders would be engaging with them. Thereafter, the two leaders will engage in a bilateral exchange later in the day on 14th of June. So those will be some of the highlights of the visit. But technology, it seems, is right at the heart of the India-France strategic ties that have been going strength to strength in the recent years. And now, when President Macron had famously said that the question is not no longer if India innovates, the question is who partners with India, and I think a big answer to that is going to be seen with Bharat Innovates. Amrit?
Okay. On the strategic partnership, apart from technology, what could be the key focus of the bilateral talks between the two principals?
There are a host of areas where the engagement is being taken forward. Amrit, we talk about financial integration. The UPI is already active at most prominent places in France. There is also anti-terror cooperation that India and France engage with as democracies. Their priorities are common. They also practice strategic autonomy. In that sense, they try to create an alternative supply chain, an alternative option to the world as far as technology representation and partnership is concerned. In that context, the relationship, the strategic partnership between both the countries is of great significance, not just for these two nations, but for the world. The manner in which the voice of democratic nations, people from democratic nations is strengthened by the partnership of India and France. That is important. We are in this beautiful city of Nice, right next to the blue Mediterranean Sea. Ocean economy, blue economy also is in focus. Nice has been known to, in fact, also host in 2025, if we recall, a very important United Nations Blue Economy Conference took place here in Nice, which India also supports and takes forward. So the manner in which sustainable development, green technologies, blue economy could be taken forward, these are more aspects where leaders of India and France will exchange thoughts when they meet.
Okay, and then he moves to, the Prime Minister moves to Slovakia, but then he comes back to France for the G7.
That's right, Amrit. It's a two-nation visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi covering France and Slovakia. From Nice, Prime Minister travels to Slovakia on an official visit, and from there he will return once again to France, this time to attend the G7 meeting at Evian. Now, India is not part of the core G7 grouping, but as an important invited nation, and is an important voice on the global stage, which the G7 nations engage with year after year. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in fact, himself has attended multiple editions of G7, and this would be yet another place where the voice of the global south, given that India has the presidency of the BRICS grouping in 2026. So in that sense, not just the concerns and priorities of India, but as a BRICS chair, the priorities of the global south would also be in focus when India engages with leaders of the G7. And thereafter, in the final leg of the visit, Prime Minister will visit capital of France, Paris. Once again, bilateral exchanges will take place, and this time the focus would again be on technology. But while Bharat Innovates is very India-centric, Indian startups, Indian institutions take center stage. VivaTech is Europe's biggest startup and innovation exhibition that Prime Minister would be focusing on. So there's going to be a lot of thought-sharing, exchange of technologies, exchange of ideas, co-investment, co-development opportunities that could be possibly explored. So that broadly would be Prime Minister's two-nation visit to Europe.
All right, Shubhendu, we'll leave it there. Many thanks for joining us. You're doing great reports from there. Thank you for the moment.